49% of the computers in the network to come to a completely different answer. So what the fuck is that about?
If they're using the correct protocol, they will not come to a different answer.
Okay.
If they are trying to be nefarious in some way, which in the past, especially earlier on, people have tried to. And in other cryptocurrencies that use blockchain technology, that are way smaller, that have a smaller hash rate, hash power, they get attacked in what's called a 51% attack, which is essentially someone takes over the 51% of the hash power of the network, and then they can basically write the entire blockchain and give themselves all of the coins themselves.
Okay, so the main point of all of this is it's a security measure. It's to ensure that
you're creating encryption.
You can't just hack into a system and then just say, oh, actually, I have 1,000 bitcoins out of nowhere. Or like, I didn't just give myself 1,000 bitcoins out of nowhere.
So just
I only have 5 in my account.
Gabagool. Wrap your mind around the entire world's worth of computers that are mining right now and participating, and understanding it would take 51% of that to break it. It's a lot to wrap your head.
Why that is. Even though it requires so many. I mean, it's not the most elegant solution, but it is, in terms of brute force, it is hard to argue its effectiveness because of how much brute force you would need to hack the blockchain. And I understand now why people are. It's not literally impossible, but it would be so impractical to try that.
And not just that, but as they try to do so, as they build up their hash power in the network, they strengthen the network and make it more valuable.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Okay, so it would be counterproductive.
It becomes more and more costly to do so. It's not like it's just 51%.
Yeah, I think you're gonna blow
51% of the future network. So
Right. Okay.
You're gonna blow Gabagool's mind if you explain staking to him next.
So what again? So to review, what you just described to me, that has nothing to do with minting a Bitcoin. You're just talking about recording transactions so that you can't just come up and say, actually, I gave my 1,000 Bitcoins today. It's a security measure.
No, hey, Gabagool, do you want Booger to explain a little bit of the creation of a Bitcoin when it's being mined?
Yes, that was my next question, because that was the real thing that I wanted to know about. Because you said it is kind of related to the blockchain itself.
Yeah. So Bitcoin will only have 21 million in total existence ever.
What? Why?
Because it's hard coded into it. So it's part
of
the protocol.
But wait, pause right there. Pause right there so you can really get
what
the gist.
What are the implications of that?
Listen. So if we pause here and we think about what this means, think about that compared to the U.S. dollar backed by not gold.
Well, it's backed by pure speculation.
So infinite versus 21 million.
Yeah.
Okay, now go ahead.
So fixed supply.
So there is a hard lock on this currency.
It's worth something, right? And
sorry to ask the dumb question, but who's to say that someone won't come along and figure out a way to raise the cap on this?
You would have to do so by 51% of the nodes there.
Okay. So
nodes,
again, this is supposedly what?
Nodes.
Okay. Well, are hashes basically the same thing as nodes? Well, we're referencing all the individual computers of this network.
Hashes approve protocols and do the blocks. Nodes store the network. So it's a little bit different.
Thank you guys. You explained it to me nicely, and I'm confident in buying at least.
Hey, Super, can you send me a message so I don't?
Yeah, me, dude.
So I don't lose your contact. Can you send me a message real quick on here?
On PlayStation.
I'll help you out because I wanted to continue with the ecosystems with you a little bit.
Yeah. So.
Okay, sorry. So you were saying so hashes approve the.
So mining.
Approve the what?
Mining. So you can mine Bitcoin without running a full node. And so they basically are just the things that are solving those equations to approve.
Wait, I'm sorry, but can you just physically describe literally what a hash is versus a node?
Sure. So a mining, it's more minor, right? Miner versus a node. So the miners are solving the hash to approve essentially the transaction, right?
Well,
so they're solving
the
that
hash would be
mathematically.
the problem that the computer has to solve, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what is the node?
A node is, think of it as like the librarian of the network that has the whole, the entire ledger. They store the entire ledger, and a lot of times they also participate in hashes, and you can verify your own transactions using a node. So like if I wanted to send, if someone else had a node,
I just got your message.
So if Bitcoin here had a node and I had a node, we could literally verify our own without ever having to go through any sort of minor protocol or anything like that. We could one-to-one.
So can I think of a node as your personal copy of the ledger?
Sure. Yeah, you can absolutely think that way. Yeah.
Okay, but well, okay, so I guess it doesn't matter if you have a copy of the ledger, because the point is that you can't edit it.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So it doesn't matter who has the ledger. I guess that's all probably public information anyway.
Yeah.
The point is that you can't hack it.
Correct. But your question about how the Bitcoin were created. So every time these things solve a problem, it creates a block, right, which is a certain number of transactions. Every time that it solves that block is solidified. The people that, or the miners or nodes or whatever that contributed to that block being completed, that were part of the 51+%, right?
They all get their own Bitcoin?
They all get a divvy of their contribution to the work put into that node. So based on their hash, how many hashes they solve.
Okay. So it will vary. Not every. It's not a flat rate. Okay.
Say there's 10 of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we each have 10% of this protocol, right? In hash power, and the reward is 10 bitcoins per block. Every block we each get 1 bitcoin.
Wait, but you made it sound like you were saying it depends on which computer did more processing work.
Correct.
To solve this hash.
If we each did 10% of the work and we're 10 places,
okay. But if you did 90% of the work, then you would get 9 of those.
Correct. That is correct.
What do you call them? 9 of those what?
So miners or nodes or whatever you want to call it. It depends on what. But whoever did 90% of the hash power of that block, right? The work of that block, to complete that block. So like. It's called proof of work is the name of that protocol for a reason, because it's you're showing your proof that you did the work to verify those transactions, to maintain the
network. Wait a second. Oh my God. Wait, I think I might be starting to get it. Wait, so are you telling me that, okay, so in this process of actually mining a Bitcoin, yeah, okay, so it makes sense. Like whoever out of like 5 or 10 of us, whoever did the most, whoever's computer did the most work to work out the hash the most would get more of the share. So is a Bitcoin basically just a record of the work you put in, and the record, the work your computer puts in to solve this hash? It creates the ledger, the block. It creates the block. So is a Bitcoin literally just a copy of a ledger?
It is, so basically...
With some utility, with some additional utility.
Yeah, so it is essentially...
Wait, but am I starting to get it?
Yeah, you are. So it is essentially the time or work that you put into the ledger is literally all a Bitcoin is. Or someone else did, and you got the Bitcoin from them. Because every Bitcoin that is in existence came from a block. So those blocks that are now part of this chain, right? They had to be built, and that is why every however many things they cut the reward in half, right? So the reward for each block gets cut in half on average now every 4 years. So like, it's going to be less and less. So right now, I think it's like 1 point whatever, and then eventually it's going to be 6.6 whatever, and then it's going to be 0.3 whatever per block. And then, you know, it's going to dwindle down, and then I think it's like by 2070, all of them will be mined, and then at that point, you're just maintaining the network with fees. But like, yeah, so like that is all Bitcoin is just, it is proof of work, essentially. It is some computer, someone somewhere paid to do the work to maintain the network and maintain blockchain, and that's it. So like, that Bitcoin represents that value. And then the utility that you have by holding that and being able to use the blockchain with that Bitcoin is where the market value comes from, of why it's worth $50,000 right now per Bitcoin.
So a Bitcoin is essentially just it's just essentially a receipt of your contribution to the blockchain.
Yeah, you can call that. Yeah.
Well, think about.
I don't want to be too reductive there. Like, am I actually missing something fundamental by?
No, you're ahead of the curve, man. You're right on the right page.
Yeah.
You are gonna get this stuff like really easily compared to a lot of people. You're doing great. Awesome questions, man. Good job, Gabba.
But wait, but the thing is, I don't want to go too far back, but you know, it seemed like your definition of transaction was a little fluid. So maybe I didn't understand, or maybe I was thinking that you are using the term transaction in a different way than I'm used to, in a colloquial sense. In a transaction, I think of transactions, whether you trade with someone or you like trade with yourself, like just transfer to another account. Those are the only two things I'm thinking of when you say transaction. But the thing that trips me up is when you say that, I don't know, maybe I misheard you, but it almost seemed like you were saying that the work your computer or you put into contributing to the blockchain creates a transaction. Did I hear you say that? At some point, I thought I heard you say it creates a transaction.
It doesn't create a transaction.
You know what I mean?
It validates transactions. So that work that it's doing is to validate those transactions. Because the way that it works is it solves a hash based on your public key, and then that is your key to your hash, and it'll verify your signature from peer to peer.
Okay. So we're not using transaction in the terms of trading a Bitcoin from one person to another, or even transferring a Bitcoin from yourself to yourself. You're using transaction in this case. What you mean by transaction is that it also can mean, just again, it's a record of your work put into the blockchain.
So the work itself isn't a transaction. The reward would be a transaction.
The reward would be the Bitcoin. That's right.
So the work put into the blockchain itself is not a transaction. That is literally solving the transaction. So verifying the transaction. So if person A and person B want to exchange a Bitcoin, person C, D, and E, they all agree, and their network verifies it. So they're the ones mining, and their work that they're putting into A and B can use that work essentially and pay a small amount, or depending on how they do it, like they transfer the Bitcoin between each other, but the C, D, and E, they're just verifying it. The work that they're doing is just to verify that A is actually transferring to B.
Okay. Can I review everything you just told me real quick, just to make sure I understand?
That's awesome.
Okay.
He's getting it real fast.
I know, man. He's like ahead of me.
I don't know. I fucking hope so, because
you're gonna be sick, man.
This crazy to me. What?
Your mind is going to be blown. You're going to have an epiphany moment at one point if you haven't already.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty drunk right now, so I feel like my mind is already being blown.
No, I'm telling you, man. It's gonna hit you hard. It's awesome. It's a fun experience.
This is kind of hitting me hard already with the implications. I didn't even know about this 21 million cap. And
no one does when they first get in. You don't know this shit.
What the fuck?
I know, you don't know this shit.
No one that I hear talk about Bitcoin ever talks about this.
That's why I created this group. I'm telling you, man.
Okay, wait. Oh, this is. Oh my God, I'm going crazy here.
What do you mean?
Okay, because I think I'm starting to get it. Okay, so first we started talking about the blockchain itself, the recording of these transactions. So the blockchain itself is, again, it's essentially the way that this system is secure in the first place, is to ensure that a worldwide network of computers, also known as nodes, solve a series of problems, also known as hashes, and they basically have to go through a series of hoops to ensure that they're solving the same problem, or that they at least arrive at the same answer. So this network of computers have to at least arrive at a 51% rate. 51% of these computers have to arrive at the same answer. Even though the other 49% do not, that's still enough of a common. It indicates that enough of these nodes are, legitimately running the same process, solving the same hash, and that lets you know, okay, this transaction is legitimate, even if it's me trading a Bitcoin to myself. Then it kicks off this whole process where you solve this hash, right? And then 51% of the computers have to arrive at the same answer.
Yeah,
you're right.
51% of the computing power. Yeah.
So listen to this. So
Gaba.
It
could be one supercomputer and 10 other computers, and the one supercomputer. But it's,
so Gaba.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you for the talk, and I really do have to go to sleep because it's like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, super. Anytime, just hit us up. I usually have this group open. Thanks for coming in.
Actually, Duck too. I gotta play with Twitch. So.
Oh, no worries. What are you guys doing? You guys doing comp?
Wait, before you go, let me real quick, just cause
go for it.
I just want to also make sure I got the production down too. Okay, so did I get at least the transaction and the ledger part down? Am I correct on that?
So the nodes or miners are solving hashes based on public keys to verify transactions, and that is what becomes the blockchain. That ledger.
Okay. So now when it comes to the go ahead. Production of bitcoins, because part of the process of validating a transaction is what also produces more work. It's the amount of work, whatever proportional amount of work. I don't know how that's really supposed to work in local networks versus a national network versus a global network. I don't know, whatever. I'm sure that's another can of worms. But just in general, the principle is, if there's 10 of us in a room and my computer does 90% of the work to verify this transaction and solve this hash, then I get 90% of the profits, and I guess that's like 90% of a Bitcoin. I don't know, whatever. That doesn't matter right now. But that's the basic principle. Yeah, but the basic principle is that a Bitcoin, it's not a record. A Bitcoin is a record of what I contributed to solve the blockchain and to keep it afloat.
Correct.
And I guess since there's millions of transactions happening every second of every minute of every day, then I guess I'm constantly, depending on what kind of computer, supercomputer
hey, Gaba,
I have in my room.
Gaba, let Booger jump out of here. But hey, Booger, can I?
But am I on the right track though?
You are 100% on the right track. You're getting it.
Booger, I'm gonna send you a message. I would actually like to keep in touch because I'm trying to build a little community. I've been in it since January 3rd, and I actually just built a miner and stuff like that. So I know it's so much fun. Dude, this is so fun. So it's nice meeting you guys. If you have to dip,
send me a message. I've been in a very long time.
Awesome, dude. I love being around people like that.
Are you both going?
No.
I'm gonna dip, but Bitcoin's gonna stick around. So.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, thanks for the explanation.
See you, Daddy.
Makes more and less sense the more I'm actually understanding it.
Dude, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with me. Like, I thought I got Bitcoin as soon as I got into it, and like it's that
you don't stop learning.
Like, yeah, you never stop learning, and like
it only gets more interesting.
I get into computer science and stuff too, so like I'm learning even more the more I get into computer science.
But in terms of scale, when you say you're always learning, does that actually mean though that you are constantly redefining to yourself what the true value of a Bitcoin is, or does that just mean you're just learning more about the ins and outs and the nitty-gritty details of how it's produced? Or are you saying the more you learn, the more fundamentally your perspective on Bitcoin shifts, like at the molecular level, and like what does it really mean to own a Bitcoin, and what kind of value do I truly own?
Yeah, so it's more the latter. Like I'm more learning the nit and gritty, but it also is shifting me always in the same direction of Bitcoin is the future, and there's a reason why I hold like 95% of my net wealth.
I know. It's too irresistible.
So no matter what you learn, the more you learn, the more it solidifies your position that Bitcoin is kind of the currency of the future, even though it has a 21 million cap right now.
Correct. Well, lower supply means that higher value, right? It's just supply and demand. And I think the demand is...
Okay, because I was going to ask how COVID has affected all this and what the implications of COVID are.
Sure. Printing 40% of all U.S. dollars in existence in 1 year obviously has done a number to our prices.
People don't understand what that means, you know?
Yeah, it's so...
I don't understand what that means.
Yeah, so like money supply is essentially just like, think of like, you know, if you
buying
have,
power,
if
time.
If diamonds were as abundant as potatoes.
What about time? What about time?
Yeah, time.
If it took you, so if you worked at your job 40% more than you already do, or whatever it is, just wrap your mind around that. Like that's serious. It's like it's not sustainable, basically.
Yeah. So like.
Well, a lot of people... Sorry, go ahead.
All I'm saying is, like, in terms of, like, money supply, just printing money and monetizing debt, a lot of people say it won't cause inflation, but it obviously is and will.
Cars are twice, 3 times the price right now. Get out of here. No inflation, my ass. 5%, get out of here.
So, like diamonds to potatoes. If diamonds were as abundant as potatoes, their exchange rate to diamonds to potatoes would be very different than it is today. But because diamonds are more scarce than potatoes, it takes a lot more potatoes to equal a number of diamonds. So, like, if you just print a lot more dollars and you have a lot more dollars, the number of
now you got potatoes
per dollar is less. Like, it's just,
yeah, but isn't that a bad example though? Because in terms of retail, in terms of items that are marked up in retail, diamonds are one of the most marked up items in retail existence, right?
But
so not to be contrarian about it, but like, isn't that not a good barometer of, you know, like really, like, you know, measuring the true value of something? Because you know diamonds are always going to be marked up no matter what, as opposed to potatoes, which are much more prone to the forces of supply and demand, right?
Sure.
You know what would be a good thing is truffles instead of diamonds. Because truffles are actually rare.
Truffles are so fucking overrated. I've had some of the best truffles in the world. I've had truffles from Piemonte and shit like that. You know what? Let me tell you something. I've had truffles in pasta. I've had truffles in blah 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 blah. In like 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurants. They are not worth it.
Morale.
You know what? I worked in a restaurant where, you know, before you go, I just gotta tell you this funny story. I worked in a restaurant where we used to have access to some of the best, you know, like white truffles from Italy, and we used to have so much money as a restaurant that we would offer employees to buy truffles from the provider directly. You know what some of my fucking coworkers did? These fucking guys, I swear to God, they bought like $300 worth of truffles, and then they made scrambled eggs with them. Like literally. That's what they bought the truffles for. They put them in scrambled eggs.
They were dang scrambled eggs.
Yeah, man. I don't even know what truffles taste like.
You know what the thing is about truffles is that they smell better than they actually taste.
Yeah, they do.
And actual truffle oil is all synthetic. It's not real truffles.
Yeah.
What's Daddy's take on all this? Are you overexposed?
Lurker. It's okay.
Well,
anyway, all I was trying to say is that all value is subjective, and we do value the subjectivity. Like, we subjectively value things based upon the time and work that it takes to acquire those things.
Right. Oh, also, before you go, what I was about to say earlier was that a lot of people have been speculating ever since 2008 that we never truly recovered from the financial crash of 2008, and what has essentially been keeping America afloat is not the traditional concepts of national wealth like GDP, but it was actually essentially just speculation and us essentially printing the fuck out of money. I'm not smart enough to really get into the nitty-gritty of that, but from what I have been hearing from other political economic sources that I do sort of trust, they've come to a consensus on that. That essentially, that I mean, would you? Yeah. So would you both agree with that?
I would say we haven't recovered since the .com boom.
Yeah, I think what they were specifically saying is that people's conception, like the average American's conception of what is bringing America its profits, they think of large and small and large corporations and things like that. The traditional means of creating profits and then therefore generating tax dollars. But essentially, they're saying no. None of that has been true since 2008.
And that's why Bitcoin was created. Did you know the backstory?
The government has been basically printing the fuck out of money, and essentially manipulating international monetary policy to essentially give themselves a leg up.
The very thing you're talking about. What do you guys
think? Is that true, or?
The very thing you're talking about is the whole reason why Bitcoin exists. It was created during that time frame because of the bank bailouts.
That would be a natural reaction to that, right? Yeah. Because of the kind of uncertainty of the true value of the dollar. Is that why?
The whole idea was to create a censor-proof and manipulation-proof protocol for monetary transactions.
That guy must have been, or the group. I don't know, whatever.
They really
thought hard. They really thought hard about this.
What it's kind of about. Well, Bitcoin as a currency, while I can understand the processes to secure transactions, sounds pretty rock solid on paper. Obviously, you guys obviously realize this way before I did, that there's still a finite set of variables and resources that Bitcoin is and will be subject to in the future. And I'm not even talking about the soft 21 million cap. I'm just talking about the sheer raw computing power required to, so now we have to start talking about COVID and the availability of, physical computer components. We have to talk about the fact that, people are talking about how it takes the power of a small state just to generate bitcoins and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had to get going, but
no, I understand.
No, you have a really good grasp of the basics, man. Like you how long have you known of Bitcoin? That's a really good question.
I didn't know shit about Bitcoin before I joined your lobby. Can I?
How long? Well, how long have you heard of it? Like exposed to it? What's your level?
I heard about it ever since 2012.
Okay, so that's a lot of exposure, right?
Well, I never bothered to look into it, though. Again, I literally did not know the basics of the basics until literally you just explained it to me. Mm-hmm. But now that you're telling me about this, then I have to start thinking, okay, well, but the thing is, isn't the point of Bitcoin to be a pretty ironclad currency that is that can resist the kind of the kind of issues of scarcity? Isn't that the point of digital currency? Except, in this day and age, I mean, even pre-COVID, wasn't Bitcoin always wasn't Bitcoin always destined to eventually be confronted with?
I just sent you a message. Are you on PS? Yeah, you're on PS. I just sent you a message so you have a placeholder for future communication.
So, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Wasn't Bitcoin always destined to meet the same kinds of, logistical problems when it comes to resources and whatever, and
is it always
ties to global production of like computer chips and things like that, even before COVID happened?
I don't think that they fully understood what they were creating when they created it. I think they had a good idea, but I don't think they realized, or maybe they did. Maybe they're top part. Maybe they're top people in the world.
Bitcoin, now that I kind of understand it a little more, it sounds so very utopian.
Well, think about it. Like this person, this group of people, whoever the group was that created it, Satoshi Nakamoto. They had to have like almost immaculate conception of understanding of like how we currently operate, the current weaknesses, and what we need to move towards to make as close to perfect counter, right?
Yeah, because now I understand that Bitcoin, after you've explained this to me, is essentially the most idealized form of a crowdsourced currency that we currently have.
Yeah, it's like a currency of the people, I would say, for sure. Definitely more than anything else.
Well, it's certainly crowdsourced.
I think I think the reason why it's doing so well is because it's better than what we currently have. That's really just it in a nutshell. That's the best explanation you can have. It's just better than what we currently have, and that's it. It doesn't have to be much better. It just has to be a little better.
But let me throw you this curveball. Okay, so if Bitcoin was originally intended to be a currency of the people that can be essentially accessed and created by the people, by just about anyone, well, then why is it that the current, from what you're telling me, it seems like it's still the upper middle class that would have access to the
let's
Bitcoin.
Let's pause right there. So that's
Sorry, do you see where I'm going?
No, I see what you're going. So let me cover some key points before we move down that road. Let me highlight all the aspects of Bitcoin that seem to be lesser understood. Just like a brief summary, because this is stuff that I learned that if I only knew coming into it in the beginning, it would have really helped me early on. But I didn't learn this until kind of deeply into it. So the fixed supply of 21 million is a pretty important key factor. How the U.S. dollar is not backed by gold, or I mean, I'm sure it's backed by a certain percentage of a multitude of assets, but it's not 1-to-1, which is ridiculous that that's even possible.
Real quick, can I just jump in real quick? I was just watching a debate on this the other day, actually. This is not what the debate was about, but one of the subjects they touched on was what the actual U.S. dollar was actually being backed up by in this day and age, and one side actually was just throwing out guesses, and spitballing, and they were saying, "Oh, is it the full faith and credit of the current U.S. government?" And they said, "No."
Backed by paper money.
Is it the stability of the U.S. military and its overseas ventures? No. And they kept trying to guess, what is it that actually backs up the U.S. dollar in this day and age? You would think that it's either the basically just the general stability of U.S. markets, or the U.S. military, or whatever. No, what apparently their answer was, no. You know what it is that's holding up the U.S. dollar now? It's the petrodollar.
Yeah, sure. Right. I know. How long is that going to last? Come on. How long is that going to last? Like, that's so unstable.
What this guy was saying, they were going even deeper on it. They were basically saying that, essentially oil, the way that, the whole concept of oil scarcity is apparently a lie. According to this guy, he was saying that...
Why do you think they burn it? Why do you think they burn it?
Well, it's the same way I can see where he's coming from, because of the way that we basically, waste like 2/3 of what we produce in the U.S. already when it comes to like food, right?
Sure.
So I can absolutely see, why they would treat oil the same way.
So Gaba, let's pause there. Let's not lose our train of focus here too far.
But either way, I'm just saying.
That's cool though. No, those are really cool points.
He was just saying that it was backed by the petrodollar, whatever. Yeah. The point is, what were we talking about?
I was gonna get back to like the main key factors when I first got introduced into this space. Like, I didn't quite like the really important simplistic version of this. So, let's say, let's start back over. So, 21 million supply. The U.S. dollar is pretty much infinite to some extent. I'm sure it's backed by a certain percentage of certain assets. What else here? Oh man, I lost train of thought. But another thing,
I guess. Well, you're saying that the point is that Bitcoin is supposed to be a much more secure form of currency.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be backed up by finite resources.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is going to be backed by, at the very minimum, like this is something new that I realized when building my mining rig. I didn't understand this until now, but like my mining rig, just for one top of the line GPU, a 19 GPU expandable motherboard, RAM, HP power supply, and some other stuff. It's like $5,000 for just to start with your rig. And it break even's about 1 year as long as Ethereum doesn't double. If it doubles, it's 6 months. If it triples, it's 3 months break even. So so starting with that, so if my mining rig costs between, I could probably get a much cheaper one. I kind of wanted like a white one and some other stuff like that I wanted. It was kind of an experiment for me to learn. That's all, really. So
is this your first mining rig?
Yeah, this is my first one. So I have a Cisco networking background, but it's a long time ago. I used
a what?
Cisco networking background. Like
computer
Cisco, communications, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't excel in that the way that I should have, but or take it seriously, but back in high school. But I went out of there. I went into computer repair, so I would basically remove viruses and some other stuff at a small PC repair shop over here in Ohio for several years. So I had a really great understanding of all kinds of cool operating systems and how computers work and where files are located and stuff like that, just like the basics. So fast forward, I haven't really touched much computers. I've always had a Mac since. I love Apple computers, or laptops at least. And so fast forwarding to now, I couldn't remember anything about how to build a computer. I had to pretty much start from scratch, and there's so much more technology than there was like 5-10 years ago. It's so cool. Yeah, so getting to the point, sorry.
No, that's okay.
So
I was gonna say, this is why I just bought a gaming laptop.
Oh, nice, yeah. So this mining rig costs X amount of money, and every single participant that's mining Bitcoin, there's a value to what's backing Bitcoin just solely in the mining gear alone. If you really think about it, which is cool. I never thought about that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Your mic cut out.
Yeah. Basically, the mining equipment that you're using is technically backing it's kind of like an asset that's currently backing it's definitely an asset.
Well, yeah, it is so fundamentally part of
it's like a business operating cost. Yeah, it's like
exactly.
You can't.
It is part of the literally part of the physical network.
Yeah. So it's got the minimum has got to be the depreciation over time of your mining equipment. That's got to be the minimum value of Bitcoin. And I had this epiphany the other day that Bitcoin will never go to zero because it's always going to be backed by the mining equipment and some other variables, I'm sure. So it's always going to be a certain percentage of what it's at right now if it were to ever crash. Isn't that amazing?
Well, in the context of COVID, it's going to be what kind of hardware is available, based on
Yeah.
Whether the supply chains are able to, fix themselves over the next year or two, or and now with the new Omicron variant out, how that's going to further affect supply chains. Because the thing is, not to get too into the COVID chat, but a lot of I've been hearing a lot of consensus from quote unquote the scientific community saying that further mutations of COVID are not necessarily going to be deadlier. Well, if anything, they're supposedly supposed to be less deadly.
Sure.
But they're supposedly going to mutate faster. So they're going to be more variants as time goes on.
It's like evolution.
Supposedly, they're supposed to become less deadly, less contagious, less lethal over time. I don't know if that's just pure loose speculation.
Yeah.
Because
well, let's stay on track here. We have Ludwig or Ludder.
No,
he just left. Sorry, he just left. No worries. Go ahead. You can go ahead and talk. Stay on track with Bitcoin because I'm actually recording right now. So I'm trying to see if I can create a platform here. No, I'm not streaming, but I'm experimenting with seeing like what kind of platform and format I need to use. Your mic's cutting out. It's almost like muted, really quiet.
Oh my God, really?
Now you're good. Now you're good.
Okay.
Yep. Cool.
So the reason I brought up COVID and the Omicron variant is because I was just basically saying, like, kind of piggybacking on what you were saying, which is, okay, Bitcoin will never literally be worth nothing because essentially it will always be dependent on the kind of hardware that's generating it. And so that's why I brought up COVID, because I was going to, that is also going to be a big factor in deciding the value of Bitcoin in the future because of, how we are going to address the shortage in the supply chain and whatnot, and how the Omicron variant is going to affect that. So that was my only point.
That's a good point. I mean, just think about the blockchain technology that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is built on. That could be very useful in tracking where this cases are coming from and all that kind of stuff.
When it comes to that 21 million cap,
scalable, because think about the virus is going to be whatever system you're using to track, it's going to have to be designed to be scalable.
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Did I miss something? What do you mean?
Whatever system that you create that is, I would imagine we have systems that can handle this, but maybe I'm thinking like a little bit more outside the box. Like if you have one person that contracts COVID, then you have 2 people to track, and then you have 4 and 8 and 16.
Oh, right.
That's like a logarithmic scale, so you would need a system that can be appropriate to handle that. And it's not just like, person A, B, C, D. It's like person A plus all sub characters of person A that some equation, some equation
or
that is so
circle outside of the household or the workplace.
So not only is it like, it's like logarithmic on top of logarithmic, like it's just insane, like the amount of information that would need to be processed and connected.
The point is, do you think that COVID is going to act as a gigantic roadblock to what was intended to be the natural escalation of Bitcoin's value?
What's that now? Sorry, I was taking a drink.
So what I'm saying is, like, the guy who basically conceived of Bitcoin in the first place, and it's kind of this guy Satoshi, whatever his name was, the fact that he basically baked in a ceiling to the amount of Bitcoin that you can generate in the world.
That's over a course of time too. Do you understand?
Yeah, that indicates that he had a timetable in mind. Even a very vague general timetable, but obviously I don't think anybody could have ever predicted COVID would happen. So what do you think the implications of that are for the escalated the growth of Bitcoin and how its value is going to escalate or stagnate?
Okay, so let's go over one detail that I'm not sure that Booger went over. And he might have if I stepped out of the room for a second. But so there's a couple really. This is also going along the lines of that information that I wasn't familiar with in the beginning. That would have like really helped me click into place, like what exactly why this is so special. So a couple other additional points are Bitcoin has a halving he talked a little bit about that, the halving every 4 years. But also Bitcoin and I believe other cryptocurrencies, I'm not super familiar, but they have like a calculate. I know Ethereum has it for sure. I'm sure, but yeah, Bitcoin has it for sure too. Basically, it recalibrates every 2 weeks. I think is the time frame.
What?
Yeah, so like basically it reevaluates every 2 weeks how many people are mining the crypto, and it says, oh you guys are
my God.
overpowered.
It's a currency that self-regulates its own
value?
value?
Yeah, and you can't change
it. Fuck?
I'm telling you, man, when you go down this rabbit hole, you're gonna keep uncovering stuff like this.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, this is more like a social experiment than a fucking currency.
I know.
What the fuck?
I know.
What the fuck? You built that in?
Yeah, isn't that insane? There's other factors like that too. I'm just scratching the surface.
Fuck?
Yeah.
God, this is literally a fucking social experiment.
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate to be taking a part in it, right? I mean, just like, what more can you ask for? So here's a good example. This will help you understand. I know.
So many applications.
Here, listen. So, a really good example of how this was super useful, or just interesting at the very least, is
God, my brain
with
is
China.
Exploding right now.
Yep, I'm telling you, you're getting orange pilled, dude. It's called getting orange pilled. Yeah. So basically,
I'm getting red pilled in real time.
Orange pilled. That's what they call it.
I'm getting Bitcoin pilled.
Yeah. So
fuck.
basically, okay. So just think about the China FUD, the fear, uncertainty, doubt, where China banned crypto. FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, doubt.
Oh, okay.
HODL stands for hold on for dear life. Safu is a misspelling of safe. These are crypto
terms.
Like
diamond hands, right?
Yeah, that's another one. There you go. Some other ones. But okay, so China banned. They had a ton of miners over there, right? I think they had some ridiculously strong hashing power. They had like 50% or more. It was just it was a lot. It was alarming. What's up, mister?
No shit.
And so they banned it. All these miners got scared. They have to keep their like multi-million-dollar mining operations. Like it's costing them. Think about it. It's costing them like $100,000 a day to not be mining,
right.
Or not that, but a lot of money. Depending on how large they are. So they're like, oh crap, we got to do something immediately. So they like disperse all over the rest of the world. They go everywhere you can imagine that would be more sustainable than where they were currently at. You got people going to El Salvador because of everything that's going on there. You got people going to all these northern countries where they can mine and regulate the temperature better because all the mining equipment produces heat, so it's more efficient. They're going to renewable resources that offer solar, wind. It's amazing how we had all this centralized hashing power and it all of a sudden dispersed when that happened, and now the U.S. is the main. From what I understand, I don't know exactly the numbers, but it sounds like we're actually a very large holder in hash power now because of this, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what
just happened this year.
Do we own?
I don't remember, but I know I've been hearing about it more and more, so it seems like it's actually quite a bit.
Considering obviously China is like 3 times larger than
okay,
God, not even 3
so
times.
Hold on, Dizzy. Let me finish explaining something. So
okay,
welcome. But okay, so now you understand where I'm getting at with this. The every 2 weeks or whatever the time frame is where it recalibrates. So during that time period, all of a sudden the rest of the miners in the world were mining Bitcoin at a rate that was like probably close to double because they didn't have the competition to fight against who could mine other Bitcoins first. So there was basically half of the hash power was out there mining Bitcoin, so all of a sudden now you had twice the hash power, basically, because there's half of the users participating. And then all of a sudden they get after a month or two, and then it's like drops, and that's probably why we had a big dip, honestly, because that can affect a lot of dips too, because there's they have to sell to recoup costs for electricity and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different little equations that go into the price of Bitcoin. And
wait a second, I'm not necessarily okay, so right now
so the
I
recalibration,
am not connecting the dots.
So the recalibration. So recalibration. Well, let me kick this guy 1 second. Your music's still on. So basically, the recalibration. It was a 2-week delay when they cut all these miners out in China. All of a sudden, for 2 weeks, the rest of the people in the rest of the world were getting like insane returns because they were able to mine theoretically twice the amount, and it didn't catch up. The code didn't recorrect until a certain period after. So it's just a cool little piece of information that took a long time to explain.
I was going to say this is a new wrinkle.
I know, so many wrinkles
on the general concept of mining, and contributing to the blockchain.
Isn't it amazing how many layers there are, subcategories?
Yeah, because
the
way that Booker was explaining this to me, none of this seemed location specific.
Oh, dude, man! Once you get down the rabbit hole, you'll start understanding.
This is new to me. So now this is a new wrinkle. Okay, because I guess I foolishly thought that I guess it didn't matter where you were, as long as you were part of the network. But okay, I guess that makes sense. It depends on where this network is, and how concentrated.
I can blow your mind. I can blow your mind on another subject if you want to.
Oh God! Wait, hang on. Before you do that,
of mining.
I just want to understand.
Here, let's introduce Dizzy real quick.
Why did China ban it? Because I remember hearing about this a couple weeks back, but I don't know why they did it.
I'll give you a quick, simple answer. They're trying to create their own digital currency for control. But let's pause there. Dizzy, welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome. So what's I have something I'm going to introduce real quick to Gaba about El Salvador.
I'm trying to fix my melody. Go for it.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, that's cool. All right, just listen. So basically, yes, El Salvador, it's a country in Central America. They have just adopted Bitcoin as they just took on Bitcoin as a form of currency in their country, a national currency. So it's the same thing as like how we use the U.S. dollar. I think they're U.S. dollarized, actually. They're dollarized. So what I was understanding is that El Salvador had like infrastructure and others governmental, I don't know, like problems like other South American countries, but negatively, even so, more, they are pegged to the U.S. dollar, so they have to basically buy this expensive U.S. dollar exchange on their goods with their poor infrastructure. So that could just cause so much chaos, in a country like that. There's so many billions, 15 billion in debt. I can't 10, 9, something like that. Okay, so now we get to that point. They have established that they accepted. They passed this in like 3 months. They made Bitcoin legal tender in like 3 months. They popped out the Shiva wallet. Yeah, they have a Shiva wallet that they distributed to everyone. They gave everyone $30 in Bitcoin. They did this in like less than 6 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they did all this. It just shows you they're serious. They have volcano-powered mining right now. That's how they generate electricity from their out. So it's free energy.
Are you serious? Is that literally what it sounds like?
Go look it up right now. It's so cool. They're creating. No, wait. Your mind. Hold on. We're level 1.
This is literal comic book territory.
We're gonna go 2 more levels. All right, you ready? So the next level down. The next level down is gonna be. They have an excess production, I believe, of electricity, so they were able to build a mining rig off their excess, something like that, which they currently have operating, which will then pay for like lots of growth in they're going to pay off their debt fairly soon. But on top of that, they are offering, I think you have to be there 6 months and hold $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to be considered or I can't remember, maybe not 6 months, but like there's a way around it. By holding Bitcoin, you can be a citizen, which people are flocking to this. Think about all the big old, yes, think about the oldest holders of Bitcoin. They're gonna flock and be citizens of El Salvador because it's the only country right now, or I think it is the only country, the first and only country that has started this standard. So, okay, that's level 2.
You can buy fucking citizenship with Bitcoin?
Level 3, you ready for it?
What the fuck?
They are issuing bonds in the form of Bitcoin to raise X billion dollars to create a Bitcoin city.
Oh my god, what?
You buy a bond for $1,000 or whatever for 3 years. You get that Bitcoin and its appreciated value back plus 6%. Bonds in the U.S. are like negative to 1% or something. I don't know what they are, but they're horrible. It's guaranteed money from the government, but you're helping El Salvador. It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
So they're literally building like a factory town, except it's a Bitcoin town?
Yeah, they're basically building everything around Bitcoin.
The kind of like the kind of towns like Ford built in the jungles.
I don't know, but yeah, probably that concept, sure.
Because like those were what like the Ford company, like the car company, like they built the factory towns in like the middle of the fucking jungle.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
And this is what that's exactly what this fucking sounds like. It's a literal fucking like Amazon corporate fucking. Except this is on the scale of a fucking. Oh my god. My god.
So Gaba. Okay, so the best way for me to wrap my mind around what we're experiencing right now, it's like generational. Like you only get this once in a lifetime, maybe twice. Okay, so imagine like 1870 or something, 1850 to 1900. Like. Just imagine like electricity comes out, and I don't know what year it came out. I can't remember exactly, but just whatever phase it was where it's like, oh yeah, electricity, yeah, right, that's never going to catch on. Okay, so like you're in that era, right? And basically you have the opportunity to invest in like the first 10 years that it existed into a company that exists in the first 10 years. You have that opportunity right now basically with Bitcoin. Like it's going to not only be the future of everything all technology is going to be built off. This is like the stone. This is like the wheel. Like you can't get the car before the wheel.
Hang on a second now.
I mean hundreds of years in the future, I'm saying. Compounded knowledge, compounded tech knowledge. It's hard to wrap your mind around that.
But the thing is, isn't the supposed security, the secure future of Bitcoin or any kind of cryptocurrency, basically banking off the failure of the U.S. dollar, or okay. So in this case of El Salvador, right? Mm-hmm. The reason that they're apparently investing so much in Bitcoin is because they owe so much in debt. They're a poor country.
We have debt too.
A lot of money.
We have debt too. What's our debt? Let's look it up. We probably have more debt.
Right. But okay. So let's look at it on a global scale. What you were saying is that Bitcoin is supposed to be a workaround to basically the falling value of the actual dollar. So because the dollar is becoming less and less valuable every day, now we're just making up a new currency.
The world's backed by the
new global currency to combat that, right?
Yeah. So let's start let's link everything together. So let's start at like the macro, no, the micro. Let's start where we. Let's see how. Okay,
let's start at the micro and then work up to the macro, I guess.
So I guess the problem is we're not backed by gold. Yeah, this makes sense. Okay, we're gonna go from U.S. to world. So we're not backed by gold. So basically, money's infinite. It's just up to whatever happens in the future for our government. Whatever they want to do, they'll print more. So if money is infinite, if the U.S. dollar is the standard for the world, then all the other countries are also going to be printing infinite money. So they're all going to have a similar problem that we have. Like everybody is going to be looking for a solution, and if the solution is Bitcoin, which is just a little bit like it doesn't even have to be much better than the fiat money, the U.S. dollar. It just has to be better. It's the next best thing. It's the only best technology that we have besides what we currently use.
Well, it has to have a longer term purity.
But not only is it a little better, it's infinitely better at the moment.
Finite resource like gold.
Yeah, right. And that's a joke too, because I've watched so many interviews and discussions on. It's an industry, like it's controlled. Like they could mine more gold if they wanted to. They can suppress more gold if they wanted to. Like they have to regulate it coming on to